Are you feeling strong today? You see, it's our strength and our unity, as well as our diversity, that is really the message that we're sending, that this place, this city, this country is a country of inclusivity and not xenophobia and definitely not white supremacy. We are people that look many, many different ways and speak many different languages. And we are people that refuse to separate children from their parents. We are people that stand up for racial justice and racial inclusivity. We are people that value diversity. We are people that stand against this hateful message that these fools in the White House and these fools in Congress are trying to perpetrate on the people of this nation. We are not going to stand for it. We will never be silent. When I first heard that these folks on the anniversary of this murder in Charlottesville, Virginia, were coming to Washington, D.C., I had to say, hell no, not in my town. Hell no, are you going to be here and not be contested? Hell no, are you going to spew your message of hate? Well, I got another message, and that message is that Washington, D.C. is open to the diversity and all the people craving justice and are standing against white supremacy and hatred. This is who we are, and we choose to be nothing less. We need to understand that these folks have wrapped their arms. When I say these folks in power have wrapped their arms around these white supremacist, hate-filled organizations. Have not only wrapped their arms around them, but included them in its administration, included them in its policy making. That's what we're up against. We got to once again make it unpopular to be racist, to make it unpopular to spew hatred, to make it unpopular. We got to chase these fools out of the White House, out of Congress, out of our city. This city is for decent, loving, justice-minded people. That's what we stand for. And we're going to do that today, tomorrow, and always, for however long it takes to turn this country around and make this country the just and inclusive place that it should be. I'm glad to see you out here. Thank you for being out here. Continue your work, continue your marching, continue your shouting, continue to stand up and don't back down from anybody. God bless you.
What he said, right? I'm gonna read some of the favorite signs I see out in the crowd, or the ones that you raise the highest, because my 4 eyes are for real. All right? So just raise your sign real high. Come on. Somebody's sign says, can't even. We're gonna start there. Can't even. It's highlighted yellow, just can't even. We have a big old heart that says, love thy neighbor. I think that's appropriate because the Rev just got off the stage. Love thy neighbor. Unless he's a Nazi, then we gotta have a different conversation. Nonetheless, I wanna bring to the stage Harriet. Harriet is a clinical psychologist providing culturally responsive and affirming care. She's a clinical director at the Resource Group Counseling and Education Center and founder of the Village Family Support Center of Baltimore. She's a member of the Shizuk Amumu congregation and is training at Cornet Hebrew Priestess Institute, a clergy training and spiritual leadership for women on a Jewish path. Presenting Harriet.
Hello everyone, can you hear me? So I first want to start by thanking the folks who put this together. This program celebrating love in the face of hate. It was Martin Luther King Jr. who reminded us that the only way to push back hate is love. And that's what I am here to talk about today. But I first want to start by telling you I had a little fashion emergency this morning. And those who don't know me, I don't have fashion emergencies. I'm just happy if my shoes match. But this morning I was running around my house looking for this shirt I bought 27 years ago. and it had a picture of Marcy and a picture of Peppermint Patty from the cartoon The Peanuts, and underneath it said, "Love is." And 27 years ago, wearing that shirt was an act of defiance. Because when I came out as queer 27 years ago, I lost family members, I lost friends, I nearly lost a job. So instead, I wore this shirt. You know where I got it? Target. That means it was mass-produced, mass-marketed. It means that we are here, and we are not going anywhere, and love still wins. I want to start by talking. I am, as I've been described, a queer, black, Jewish, Hebrew priestess. I am the biggest fear of the alt-right. I am an educated black woman. Fascists, fear me. But before that, I want to talk a little bit about my parents. My mother was born in 1923. She had 8 siblings. When she was young, her father died, and so her mother was raising 9 children on her own. When my mom was about 11, the KKK came to their house and dragged my grandmother out of the house. They were going to lynch her. And she begged in front of her children while they watched, "Please don't kill me. My children have no one but me." So they beat her, but spared her life. She contracted. Racism doesn't exist anymore, Mom and Dad. Really, it's not like that. We live in love. And recently, as I have aged, I have come to see what they used to see, especially this last 2 years, with this league of buffoons that we have in the White House, called the administration. I have come to understand that maybe we both were right. That yes, the fascism does exist, but again, we are still here, and we will stand strong in love. So, there is so much love and strength and resilience here, despite the bigotry and despite the fascism, and yet we will survive. I want to tell you a little bit about what I've learned as a psychologist. The alt-right will try to gaslight every single one of you, and their messages will be insidious. They will tell you that you are not good enough, not strong enough, not smart enough, not resilient enough, and the message will be like a cancer in your brain. But you must fight back. They will make you question your competence and your resilience. And the best way is to fight back with love and strength. In fact, that is what my parents always did. That is what they taught me, and that is why I am here today. Years ago, when I started studying ancient feminine divinity, I learned a chant. And I can't believe that I'm getting ready to stand up in front of all of you people and sing. But I want you to sing with me, if you will. It goes like this. We are the ancient ones. We are the new ones. We are the same ones, but stronger than before. We are the old ones. We are the new ones. We are the same ones, stronger than before. We are the ancient ones. We are the new ones. We are the same ones, stronger than before. One more time. We are the ancient ones. We are the new ones. to descend upon DC, upon the United States, upon the world. But love will always rise, always push back, and always triumph. Love wins. Love wins. Love wins. Love wins. Love wins.
Hey y'all, that was great, right? We agree, love wins. Like is okay too. We can like a couple folks. We don't gotta love them. It's a spectrum. It's okay. It's a spectrum. Next up, we have Z. Z is a Palestinian American activist who works on Palestinian human rights issues and the civil rights of the vulnerable communities in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Coming to the stage, Ms. Z.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so honored to be here today as a proud Palestinian American woman in solidarity with all of you and in our collective struggle against fascism, white supremacy, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, racism, ableism, homophobia, sexism, transphobia, and all sorts of oppression and hate. Last June 23rd, when my brothers and sisters of the Palestinian community, of the U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights and Jewish Voice for Peace, when we gathered together for the Poor People's Campaign in Washington, we held a banner that said, "If you want peace, work for justice, end the Israeli occupation." And then on June 30th, when I and my co-volunteers from our local civil rights organization, Grassroots Alexandria, and I want to give out a shout out for Grassroots today because of our mobilization, we threw Richard Spencer out of Alexandria. So when I and my co-volunteers with Grassroots gathered at the Families Belong Together rally here in DC, we held signs and chanted about abolishing ICE and reuniting immigrant families. We also chanted, "From Palestine to Mexico, all the walls have got to go." Let's say this together. From Palestine to Mexico, all the walls have got to go. From Palestine to Mexico, all the walls have got to go. From Palestine to Mexico, all the walls have got to go. Thank you. We all know about the wall between the U.S. border and Mexico. And today I want to remind you about the apartheid wall that Israel has built and continues to build. It is now 300 miles long, and it separates Palestinians in the West Bank from their relatives in Israel. It also cuts off Palestinians from their farmland and severely restricts their freedom of movement. Because of the wall and the military checkpoints, Palestinians in the West Bank and East Jerusalem can't get to work, to hospitals, to schools. They can't see their families and friends, and they can't earn a proper living. They can't even drive the same roads as the Israelis. Like the historic policies of apartheid in South Africa, Israel's apartheid wall is part of an overall policy of ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. We Palestinians know what ethnic cleansing is. Between 1948 and 1950, during Israel's establishment, Zionist forces terrorized Palestinian society and ethnically cleansed more than 400 Palestinian towns and villages. Most of them were systematically destroyed, and Israel prevented the return of their Palestinian owners, who are now refugees. My own parents and my entire extended family are counted among those refugees. This ethnic cleansing continues to this day with withdrawal of residency rights, especially in Arab East Jerusalem, the confiscation of Palestinian land, in the building of Israeli settlements. There are over 200 Israeli settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. They together count for about 40% of the land of the West Bank. The Geneva Conventions and international law say that building settlements on occupied land is illegal. But Israel doesn't care. Israel doesn't care because the United States supports its unjust policies every step of the way. President Trump and his team have enabled Israel's supremacist and colonialist agenda. And in our own country, President Trump doesn't care about those who don't have the same color of his skin or don't have the bank accounts like his. When I hear about African American youth in the United States who are targeted and killed by police or incarcerated for long periods for petty crimes, I think about Palestinian teenagers in the West Bank hauled out of their beds in the middle of the night to prison, or wounded or murdered by Israeli snipers as they demonstrate for human rights. When I hear about white supremacists and fascists who terrorize non-whites and spew hate, I think about the Israeli settlers on the West Bank who terrorize Palestinians in cities like Hebron and Bethlehem by throwing stones at their children and burning their olive trees and forcibly taking over their homes. When I hear about Latinx men and women and other vulnerable communities being passed over for jobs, excluded from neighborhoods, treated as second-class citizens, I think of Palestinian citizens of Israel who face more than 65 laws that discriminate against them in housing, in education, and politics every day. When I remember Heather Heyer, who was killed last year in Charlottesville by a white nationalist thug, I also remember the cold-blooded killing by an Israeli sniper of Razan and Najjar, the young Palestinian nurse tending to wounded demonstrators in Gaza's March of Return. These snipers have been deliberately targeting medical workers as well as innocent civilians. In Gaza, an 11-year-old blockade has made 2 million people prisoners in their own land in 140 square miles. They can't travel, can't import many goods, they can't fish beyond a certain area in the Mediterranean, or Israeli army fires on them and confiscates their boats. They face 44% unemployment, are food insecure, dependent on international aid. Over 96% of the water in Gaza is contaminated and not drinkable. They have 2 to 4 hours of electricity every day. And worse, Israel's army has invaded the Gaza Strip 3 times since 2008, with thousands of civilian casualties, including thousands of children. I ask you, why is the United States giving $3.8 billion every year in military aid to Israel? This intensifies serious militarization in the region, and it perpetuates Israel's oppression of the Palestinians. Don't you think it would be better to use this $3.8 billion every year for education and health and poverty eradication in the United States? I ask you to stand with Ahed Tamimi, the 17-year-old Palestinian young woman who slapped an Israeli soldier who was in full gear and helmet. She slapped him because he and his forces had just shot her 12-year-old cousin and invaded her home. Ahed Tamimi, a Palestinian minor, was made to serve an eight-month sentence in an Israeli prison for doing this. I ask you to stand with Darin Tatur, the young Palestinian poet who was just sentenced to 5 months in jail, in Israel's jail, because of the poem she wrote about resisting oppression. I ask you to stand with the 7,000 Palestinian prisoners held in Israeli jails in the West Bank and inside Israel, many without charge or trial. I ask you to stand with all the Palestinian students and professors and their courageous Arab, American, and Jewish allies at campuses across the United States who are facing harassment and discrimination because of their pro-Palestinian rights work. I ask you to uphold our right to boycott Israel and our right to divest from companies that support Israel's military occupation. This is our nonviolent way. This is our nonviolent way to pressure Israel to comply with international law. The right to boycott is legally protected, and we should not be punished for it. I ask you to stand with the ACLU and organizations like Palestine Legal in fighting legislation that undermines our First Amendment rights and our freedom of speech. And now I would like to share one note of hope. I ask you, other than the hope that is represented here in this crowd, I ask you to stand with Rashida Tlaib, who ran for a congressional seat and was just elected in Detroit's Democratic primary. Rashida Tlaib is a Palestinian American and a Muslim woman who ran on a platform of resisting the Trump agenda, and she gained broad support from all communities in her district. So I ask you to stand with Rashida Tlaib. She has given us hope that we can indeed unite and fight injustice. Alhamdulillah. And finally, I ask you to work together so that Israel does not normalize its grave injustices against Palestinians. We must remain vigilant and active and unified. I ask you to stand with me against oppression and military occupation everywhere. I ask you to stand with me in upholding our right to resist oppression. I ask you to stand for justice. And I ask you to stand with the Palestinian people. Thank you.
Her name is Z. She is one of several speakers here.
All right, thanks. I want to thank Z for speaking. Let's give her another huge round of applause. And given what was just said, I just want to take a moment to allow my Jewish sisters, brothers, and comments in the audience to raise their hands, show that we are present in all our diversity. And we want to model in this space what could exist across our world if people organize to transform and build solidarity, build the kind of struggle that can bring about a world based on transcendent love, solidarity, and mutual aid. Because there is a historic link between Jewish immigrants in this country who were at the forefront of organizing anti-racist work in the 1930s, building the labor movement. There was a link between anti-racism here and around the world and the struggle against anti-Semitism that was unfortunately severed by the creation of Israel and the way in which it was created, and we can actually bring those strands together. We can model here in this country what could exist in the Middle East. So I want to introduce a dear friend, a brother in struggle, un hermano en la lucha, an MC, a poet, an artist, a photographer, a brilliant heart. His name is Conrado Maluk. Please give him a warm welcome.
Peace, peace. Okay, hey. Yo, y'all ready? Put the volume up a little bit. DC! Woo! Maryland, Virginia, everybody here, let's go. Yo. I'm the recycled embodiment of my ancestors who disembodied oppressors with applied pressure. I'm a protector, a collector of wisdom, an ancient prison. Illuminating our escape from prison. I'm underground like the Earth's core, gritty and hardcore. I'm an unexplored Mesoamerican pyramid, therefore my pinnacle is ignored. Riddle me this, I'm a celestial being. Son la tienda latina de mi tía. Mira cómo trabaja sin comida. Son las manos de mi madre. Venas que corren sangre, pero ladrando que tienen hambre. I'm that revolutionary poet, capturing final moments. I captured this moment inside a framed portrait. Before I wrote it and hung it up on the gallery for artists see. I picture me free, full of a Homer's Odyssey. Explain to me how Greek tragedies relate to this. Well, blackness is symbolic to the great abyss. In modern America, all you see is this so-called hero resembling a vulture more than a bald eagle. And yo, they starve people, and I can account for it. You see them bills, homie? I can barely afford it. I have a son and daughter to raise, but it's hard to raise them on minimum wage. So I channel my rage and break the cage of my imprisonment, hopefully changing the lives of those who listening. Hey yo, my vision is to counteract this indifference. So if you're different, then we the same. Yo, it's your melanin that keeps me sane. Through the insanity, I felt the pain. Picking signs in the pouring rain. See, our names shall be written on the cuneiform tablets of the ancients in places sacred. So when our blocks get taken via gentrification, I'll be on the block posted with a bunch of the homies protesting a purpose. Yo, they say we worthless, but they don't know what work is. $8 an hour, that's not what life is. See, I've been working harder than most until I overdose on life's purity, teaching them seeds through lyrical symmetry. And yo, my imagery habitually appeals to the masses. Forecasting storms that leave caskets open like Emmett Till. My skin is real, coping with slave trauma and bad karma. Hoping the Lord Dharma catches up before I've given up my last buck to catch the bus. See, I've already had enough. Like Bernie Sanders in handcuffs. Still, my mannerisms remain tough. It's not enough that they killing us inside of capitalism's great schism, separating religion. Try to envision better conditions for you and yours. No more stepping over the poor who want war. I want more opportunities for the poor kids in our communities. Lacking unity, stacking truancies, acting foolishly, choosing not to see, so they succumb to being blind, deaf, and dumb. This for the knowledge seekers, non-believers, and poor righteous teachers. For the immigrants with or without visas, refugees overseas, and everyone taking these. It seems the bold and gold fragments of our existence have been molded together for resistance. So never fold, be persistent when fighting injustice in a country that doesn't trust us. So trust us to deliver this lyrical justice. Alright, y'all, my name is Conrado Maluk. I'm a poet / MC and photographer from the area, born and raised in Alexandria, Virginia. And tonight, we rocking, yo, we rocking for the people. We doing this for the people. This is that hip hop shit. It's that underground movement shit. Let's get it. Alright, so this next song is entitled Inspiración. And it's dedicated to the people. It's dedicated to the organizers, to the people that have come before us, the revolutionaries, the Black Panthers, the Young Lords, the Brown Berets, all of them who really put in work before us, and now we putting in that work and continuing to take that torch and moving forward with the culture. So for this one, I need everybody to put their fist up. Put your fist up. Let's go. I'm inspired by the strength of the people, on the streets to the steeple. We all ego inspiración. Lo que me inspira es el poder de la gente, lo que usa su mente para revolución. Ey, I'm inspired by the strength of the people, on the streets to the steeple. We all ego inspiración. Lo que me inspira es el poder de la gente, lo que usa su mente para revolución. Hey yo, my heroes were young lords adored and ready for war. In a society with racial anxiety, singing the blues of various hues and colors. On the streets, people were killing each other, so they formed a coalition of brothers and sisters on a revolutionary mission. Now listen, they weren't fucking with no crooked ass politicians. They made their own decisions based solely on their proposition. They had a 13-point program and platform. They knew that organizer was an art form that they could transform from college students and dorms into a militant organization with uniforms. The newspapers read Liberación o Muerte, liberty or death to their last breath, fighting for those that have less. Although we mad stressed, we still blessed. Stay blessed. I'm inspired by the strength of the people, from the streets to the steeple. We all ego inspiración. Lo que me inspira es el poder de la gente, lo que usa su mente para revolución. Ey, I'm inspired by the strength of the people, from the streets to the steeple. We all ego inspiración. Lo que me inspira es el poder de la gente, lo que usa su mente para revolución. Ey yo, estaba en un lado con la luz apagado. Dicen hermano, así sus palabras están enterradas. Ven que la sangre de los incas aztecas y mayas lo lleva muchaya. Con Malcolm y Che Guevara categorized together equals liberty over the weather before it started forever. Somos soldados, lo llaman lo malo, pero solo queremos que los niños crezcan y entiendan su left, no second guessing. Ahora es el tiempo, yo no te miento cuando confrontamos problemas muy graves, lo convertimos a animales, oye amigos. Ustedes no quieren problemas conmigo, uno solo hace lo que le da la gana y quien gana cuando es parte de gana no tiene nada, repítalo. Uno solo hace lo que le da la gana y quien gana cuando la migra se lleva a mi hermana. I'm inspired by the strength of the people, from the streets to the steeple. We all equal inspiración. Lo que me inspira es el poder de la gente, lo que usa su mente para revolución. Hey, I'm inspired by the strength of the people, from the streets to the steeple. We all equal inspiración. Lo que me inspira es el poder de la gente, lo que usa su mente para revolución. Hey yo, hey yo. And again, that song was called Inspiración, and it's dedicated to y'all. It's dedicated to everyone that came out here today to fight against white supremacy. We can't let them take over, y'all. Peace.
So just a quick note about social media. You know, we are the media these days, and it's a crazy situation. Like, Trump supporters believe Fox News and Trump's tweets and think everything else is part of some vast communist conspiracy. So we need to actually amplify what we're doing here. So if you have a phone, and I think that's about all of you, please take pictures of signs, visuals, and tweet out to some of these hashtags. Defend DC, Still Here, Still Strong, All Out Audit, August, and Shut It Down DC. So just use that hashtag so it'll trend. We want the world to know what we're doing here. And I just heard from a friend of mine, a good comrade, old comrade of mine, that C-SPAN has decided to live stream the Nazis tonight.
What the fuck?
From 5 to 7, while they pretend to be part of legitimate debate. So we would just like to shame them into not doing that. So if you have a phone and you're on Twitter, at C-SPAN, please tweet out, why are you giving a platform to neo-Nazis? There was a war fought to stop them from waging a Holocaust, and you're giving a platform to people who thought that was a bad idea and who would prefer that that kind of trash re-emerge in our society. So at C-SPAN, please tweet that out.
Character limit on Twitter.
So up next we have one of my favorite people in DC. I serve as arts director of No Justice, No Pride. We made our name by disrupting the Pride Parade last year because of all the toxic corporate sponsors who were pretending to be pro-queer. My favorite was a picture of a drone and a bomber, an F-16 bomber, with a rainbow flag draped underneath. I was like, the cognitive dissonance was mind-numbing. Like, so I should be somehow the queer part of me should be happy that you're bombing queer people in Afghanistan and Iraq? Like, what? So anyway, we organized, we did that. Now we're doing a ton of base building work in trans communities of color in DC. So I'm gonna bring up Angel and anyone else from NJNP who wants to come up and show solidarity. Please give a warm welcome to Angel, our lead organizer in DC for No Justice, No Pride.
Sit back a bit.
Well, first of all,
Sorry.
Thank you everybody for coming. Oh, girl, I'm sorry. Thank everybody for coming. All of you guys look wonderful. These signs are cute. Yes, I'm feeling it. I'm living. Yes. I'm so sorry. I could get louder. Come on. We could do this. Let's do this. I like it. Okay, so let's start with the whole KKK thing and that whole C-SPAN thing that we just talked about. Really? Oh, C-SPAN? Why? We gotta be louder? Okay, C-SPAN, why are we putting these Nazis on the TV? That's a waste of time. That's not what we need to be talking about. We need to be talking about housing issues, how the homeless rate is rising. Like, girl, come on, that's late. Like, oh my God, like that's just making me so upset knowing that they're coming to DC trying to rip and run the streets when we rip and run those streets to work hard for what we got, to work hard for these iPhones and these Jordans, but y'all wanna come over here and terrorize what we worked hard for. That's not okay. That's disrespectful, it's ignorant, it's just horrible. It makes me sick to my stomach. Like, so right now, speaking on top of the whole racism topic, when I was in elementary school, I went to a predominantly white school, and It was horrible. Everybody that was African American or had some tint to them, we were either cousins, god brothers, god sisters. Like, it was horrible. I was beaten up all the time. I was jumped by a big group of boys who called me nigga and this, that, and the third. Beat me to a pulp, and all the principal told my mother was boys will be boys. And I was like, I know, right? And thank you, came out on top. I sure did. Thank you so much. As I got older, I realized who I was. Came out to my family. They were mighty supportive. I'm a young black transgender female, and so now, walking around with people who have this mindset of people of color are wrong or same-sex marriage is wrong, certain stuff like that, like love conquers hate. I'm seeing all of this: love conquers hate, love wins, love equals hope. These are all true statements that should never be left in the dirt or left in your back pocket because someone made you feel some type of way or said something you didn't like. I've heard so many people disrespect me. I've had a lady at McDonald's call me a nigga and throw my drink on the floor. Like, come on now, like, and you know what I did? I said, well, that's cute, and I appreciate your opinion, but I'm gonna go get another sweet tea with the money that I worked for, that I worked hard for. So, right now, can I see a show of hands how many people have experienced racism or have witnessed racism at all? Girl. So let's just say everyone, okay. And it made you sick to your stomach, right? Disgusted. Like, how could you be a human being and disrespect another human being for being themselves, for flaunting themselves, for loving themselves? You cannot tell me I'm wrong for walking the streets and my blonde hair with my diamond choker because you don't like it, period. But like, that's real shady. Like, when you really get into it and you really sit back and think about it, I wonder if they like, I think about it all the time. Are they, like, do they want to do this? And do they wake up in the morning and say, oh, I'm gonna go hate on this person. I'm gonna go hate on everybody that doesn't look like me, everybody that doesn't act like me. That's not a mindset you should have. You should wake up in the morning and be like, first of all, thank God I woke up, one. Two, my goal all the time is to make sure that somebody has a bomb day or I put a smile on somebody's face. I was tired this morning. I woke up and made every transgender young woman that is staying in my house some food. I made breakfast this morning for everybody. Like, because it's just not in my spirit to be hateful. It's not in my spirit to be mad at somebody because they're different. Like, it makes me mad. I was talking about it earlier, bullying and all of this disrespect and all the shade that people are throwing out. It's not cute, it's not cunt, it needs to stop. It's a chop for me. I don't like it at all. Now this march is going to be over because these signs and all these people, oh, you're going to be heard. Whether they like it or not, you're going to be heard. Can I hear everybody say, I will be heard? I will be heard. And I don't care what they got to say. I will be heard. I will be heard. And today is our day. Okay, in unison, I love that, yes. But we just can't let them take over. Like, this big group, like they said, pull out your phones, post it, hashtag C-SPAN why, hashtag C-SPAN you're late, hashtag, like, just keep posting, keep letting people know that we all have a voice. If we stick together, we're going to win, regardless. It does not matter whether you're black, white, gay, straight, Hispanic, trans, just, you're you, period. Like, damn, I'm sorry, like, but you're you, and you need to love yourself, and when you love yourself, it gives you the strength to love someone else, and once you love them, it makes a bond. And once you have that bond, like the bond I have with my sisters in the house I live in, we have a bond. So when someone comes in and tries to break that bond, we're too strong for that, baby. Like, all of this right here, we're too strong for that, baby. We're too strong. One of them could walk up right now and I'd be like, no tea, no shade, my girl's got you, okay. So thank you for letting me speak because I was nervous. There's a lot of y'all, and what I mean, But thank you guys so much. You guys can check out our website, nojustice.nopride.org. And I'm open for questions. If anybody has questions or any type of information they want to exchange, I'm right here. Girl, blonde hair, diamond choker. That's me. But yeah, thank you. Bye.
A little more noise for trans women of color. Trans women of color, make some noise. We have to build movements that say that we will elevate and focus on the experiences of the people most directly facing the horrors and violence of this regime, because violence against trans women has skyrocketed since the election of the despotic fool sitting in the white apartment over there, and the hotel over there, and the business ventures all over the world, and like this rogues gallery of cabinet appointees. It couldn't get worse. Every day, I have to say, I am limiting my consumption of news to 20 minutes, because I would just be angry and enraged for the rest of the day. I spend my life organizing, creating, and building. So let's give a little shout out to Angel. When I say no justice, you say no pride. No justice! No pride! No justice! No pride! And the house that Angel was talking about, we only have a lease until the end of this month. So if anyone can donate to our effort to find more housing, if we don't meet the basic needs of our organizers, the trans women of color who build the base of No Justice, No Pride, the work won't happen. So we need a new house. We need about $10,000 by next month. NoJusticeNoPride.org. If you know anyone who's into our orbit, because we need our benefactors. I'm still waiting for my check from George Soros. It hasn't come yet. I live on disability benefits. I really could use a check. If George Soros is watching, or Elon Musk, please help us out. All right, go, sister. That one doesn't work.
They said they wanted us to chant, but I don't think they really ready. You think they ready? That's fine. Well, in honor of baby sister Angel, she got me started. So our first chant is gonna go a little something like this. Chopped, 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 chopped. That racist crap has got to stop. You say it. Chop, chop, chop. That racist crap has got to stop. Keep going. Chop, 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 chop. That racist crap has got to stop. Chop, 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 chop. That racist crap has got this side. Chop, 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 chop. That racist crap has got this side. Chop, 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 chop. That racist crap has got. I don't see you.
That racist crap has got.
Over here now.
Chop, 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 chop.
That racist crap has got to stop. That was so lit. Clap your hands. Clap your hands. Clap your hands. The youth will always lead you. I'm gonna use that again. You will hear that again. Inspired by Miss Angel. We got one more for you. Again, the hashtag is still here, still strong. But you can also add CNN, what's wrong? C-SPAN, what's wrong? Whoever. Because if they're not covering it, that's intentional. They have 1 million cameras. They can be 1 million places. They can do 1 million things. They can tell you what Grumpy Cat is doing. But right now, this is not of interest to them, and that's fine, because I don't do this for mainstream media. They don't really come up MLK Avenue that often. They're not really in Berry Farms that often. They don't really frequent Park Chester. They're not in Clay Terrace. So I don't do this for the media. I do this for the people in my home. I do this for the people who don't have a home. And so our next chant is going to be, we still here, we still strong, fighting white supremacy until it's gone. You say, we still here, we still strong, fighting white supremacy until it's gone. Keep going, we still here, we still strong, fighting white supremacy until it's gone. We still here, we still strong, fighting white supremacy until it's gone. Now I want to introduce to you all Thomas. Thomas is a local disability rights activist. He also speaks on LGBT issues. I also picked out his dress shoes. Get into the red crocodile, okay? Time was had, okay? We're gonna slay in more ways than one on this stage. Give it to the people, Thomas. We ready. Also, way. Nobody was gonna tell me about these 3 steps right here. Y'all done seen me run and leap and jump. It's 3 steps right here I could have used the whole time. And I'm mad at everybody looking at me. That's all. Thomas has something more important to say.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm here. And like, when people try to be bigots and try to go against people, they don't realize they're going against themselves. What have you? Because like, I would ask them, what would you do if something happened to your loved one and your loved one need care? And there's an African American that's a doctor. And is you going to deny them care because they're African American or they're Hispanic? They have one to treat them. There might be a doctor or what have you. So is you going to let them treat them and then later on stand against them and make a hypocrite out of yourself? Come on now, let's keep it real. You see, because like going against people, whether or not they have a disability, or whether or not they gay, or whether or not they black, red, green, or purple, whatever. Going against people like that is dead wrong. Don't y'all agree? So, they gotta get their act together or either go to another place and start their own country there. Because like, we don't need them here in a free, loving country. Because love conquers all. And love will conquer their hate. You see, because hate cannot stand where there's love. It cannot be in the same area and survive with love. So they got to stop this mess. It don't make no sense what they trying to do. Or what have you, talk against us and try to hurt us. Or what have you, when we not trying to do nothing to hurt them. You see, and they got to stop being cheered on by others that might encourage violence. You see, because violence do not solve any problems. When Martin Luther King was walking and he was marching against violence. No matter how many times people was violent towards him, he wasn't violent towards them. You see? So he led the example for all of us to live by and be recognized and be proud of that we are a country of free, loving people. So, I tell you, anytime somebody want to discriminate or what have you, don't discriminate against them. Show them love. Because hopefully if you show them love, their love will conquer their hate and they'll show it back. You see, because love is everything. And like I tell people all the time, God did not create all these people to just be here and get on your nerves or whatnot. God created us to be here to help each other. Because that's how we get our blessings, from neighbors helping neighbors. Hey, you know, so stand up and be counted. What have you. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Let's give it up again. The rights of people with disabilities have to be upheld. We have to fight to stand in solidarity with everyone in our society who needs our support and love. So up next, I want to give a warm welcome to a brave Charlottesville survivor who is a local Unitarian. And her name is Constance. And just a big shout out to all the Black Unitarians. We are an endangered species, but we are fierce and flawless. So come by All Souls if you want to check us out.
Hi, can everyone hear me? I never thought, louder, can you hear me? I never thought I would be standing here before you, talking about how a group of actual Nazis have deeply affected my heart, my body, and my soul. I never thought I would be standing here before you, talking about why it's so imperative that we come together under the banner of survival and resistance through community love and support.
Yes!
When I heard about people going to Charlottesville, I never initially thought I would be one of them, but my moral compass wouldn't let me stay home. As time grew, I knew the question was not going to be, how can I make this easier on myself, but rather, how can I make this easier for the people who don't have a choice? The Nazis were going to show up in Charlottesville, and I didn't want the marginalized people there, like myself, to feel alone. That city could have been my city, and it was my city growing up. America has been dealing with these issues of race and hatred since its inception. I've had enough, and my family's had enough. Eventually, I knew I could not be a person who sat by and watched recently emboldened white supremacists terrorize an entire city. The hate on that day in Charlottesville is something that I've never seen or felt before. Now, this is coming from a Black woman, a descendant of enslaved peoples who was born and raised in the very deep South. So that should tell you just how intense and dehumanizing that experience was. For a long time, I couldn't even put it into words. We knew that there would be violence, but we didn't expect it to be inescapable. Heather Heyer was murdered. I was injured. Dozens were maimed, and everyone at that intersection was emotionally fractured. The thing I didn't understand at the time was that this kind of violence follows you. Even if you want nothing to do with it, it follows you on the streets and out of the streets. In reality, it's woven into the fabric of our history, but the masses don't generally get a chance to see it in its obvious form. Now that we have a president who embodies and supports this kind of violence, the masses are able to see this monster much more clearly. If we don't stand up and say, not here, not now, not anymore, this violence will keep happening and on our watch. We are responsible for this time in history. When we look back at people like Harriet Tubman, Marsha P. Jordan, Mary Braveberg, and Frederick Douglass, we glorify them. We talk about Reverend Dr. King as if he were a saint. These people were not saints, but they were dissenters, and in the most powerful way. They stood up with their voices, with their bodies, and when they had it, with their savings, and they said, not here, not now, not anymore.
Is everything all right? We need to move back?
But we cannot look to them to understand the future, because we are that future. Our future lies in the same direction that our moral compass points, and we will have to fight to get there. We are the people who are making history in this moment. We have to muster up our courage, move out in the streets and the polls, and make a joyful noise that says nope, a joyful noise that says nope, not here, not now, not anymore. And when we get weary, because we will all get weary, we have our legacies to lean on, our legacies of active and passive resistance and resiliency. Dr. King stated that human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. Either a superficial look at history, even a superficial look at history reveals that no social advance rolls in on the wheels of inevitability. Every step towards the goal of justice requires sacrifice, struggling, and suffering, and the tireless exertions and passionate concern of dedicated individuals. Without persistent effort, time itself becomes an ally of the insurgent and primitive forces of irrational emotionalism and social destruction. This is no time for apathy or complacency. This is a time for vigorous, positive action. We are the dedicated people who say Black Lives Matter. We are those dedicated people who believe that we are on occupied Piscataway territory. We are the dedicated people who don't believe in separating families. And we are the dedicated people who do not believe that there are very fine people on both sides. Thank you.
Y'all can make some more noise for a Black woman who put her life on the line. Let's be very clear. When you step outside your door as a Black woman every day, you put your life on the line. When you step outside your door as a Black Southern woman every day, you put your life further on the line. And we just want to honor you on today. A very important part of our program. It's very serious, and I want to make sure that all of you can hear me and hear me well. As Sis just spoke to, one of the reasons we're here is of course in memoriam of Heather Heyer, who died 1 year ago in Charlottesville. We're acknowledging that people have come from all over, and we want to ask if any survivors from Charlottesville can move forward to the space. Any Charlottesville, come to the stage, please, at this time. Make your way, please. Don't be humble, don't be scared, please. If you know someone who's coming from Charlotte, encourage them to take the stage. Come on up here, y'all. Come on up here. As they continue to make their way to the stage, and we clap and we honor them, thank you. Thank you. Keep it coming for the brother with the love hat. We see you, brother. We see you. Anybody else? That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Take your rightful place. Y'all made it. Celebrate the fact that every day some tries to kill you and it did not succeed. Every day. Some try to kill you and it didn't succeed. Now before we take this moment of silence, can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? Because we're about to take this moment of silence. We won't have all day to be loud, but we want to give these folks their space. Be very, very clear that a white woman named Heather was not the target. It was a missed shot. And we want to be very clear that Heather was not the first white, black, red, yellow, gay, straight, trans, queer that has lost their life to oppression in this world. And so what we want to do right now is acknowledge that your sign wasn't the first. This rally wasn't the first. Heather's life wasn't the first, and unfortunately, it has not been the last. But today, this moment of silence, we're promising that we will be silent no more. And we will honor every life that has died and is dying to continue to provide for us the freedom we all hope for.
And after the moment of silence, I'm going to read 3 brief statements that survivors of Charlottesville emailed us to read out at the rally. So this is from a sister named Star. Thank you to everyone who came today to fight back against fascism. I wish that I were mentally and physically able to be by your side this year. We are at an important moment in history. We must do whatever it takes to crush the rise of fascism. Take care of one another. I love you. These are words from Al Bowie. Thank you to everyone for coming out today to stand up against white supremacy. Thank you to my fellow survivors for continuing to fight and for inspiring me constantly. Rest in power, Heather Heyer. Smash white supremacy every day, in every way. And this is from Courtney, a friend of Heather Heyer. Do it now, don't be afraid, spread your light, and continue to dismantle the systems that oppress us. I love you, keep going. Hashtag Vibrate Heyer. All right, thanks for everyone who came up. Could people take space down off the stage now so we can keep moving with the program?
Thank y'all again. Thank y'all. Clap them up as they go back to their space with us. Thank y'all so much. We talking about this today, but they live that every day. When the cameras ain't there, when the hashtag stops, when nobody's taking pictures, that's their home. Yeah, definitely. So we want to get to our next speaker. Shahira Jalil Abbasi. She's the cousin of Shabika Sheikh, who was the Pakistani exchange student killed in the Santa Fe, Texas school shooting May of this year. Shahira is herself an exchange student. And here to speak for her, Shabika and all of those lost to hate.
Today, I am here to make a case of coexistence over division, a case of maturity and respect over trolling and abuse, a case of egalitarianism over extremism. My name is Shahira Jalil Al-Basat, and today I'm here to make a case for the Sabikas, the Heathers, the Nia Wilsons of this world, over the Richard Spencers, the Tucker Carlsons of this world. Today, we are gathered here, we're standing here, and through these cameras, we're speaking directly to hate, to the extremists, and to the alt-right. Dear alt-right, yours is a zero-sum game. It is us versus them. And because it is us versus them, it is not sustainable. Dear alt-right, your very existence thrives on hate. Your very existence by its design thrives on anxiety, anger, paranoia, fear, and anxiety, anger, paranoia, fear are exhausting, are tiring. Dear alt-right, do you know, have you tasted the taste of extremism? It tastes like the pungent sourness of blood in the mouth of Heather. Dear alt-right, have you smelled the smell of extremism? It smells like the pungent sourness of the wounds of Nia Wilson. Dear alt-right, have you heard the sound of hate? It is tangible. It sounds like the news of Sabika's death. Dear alt-right, across the globe, almost every region has its manifestation of hate, so you're not unique. If you think you are the underdog, if you think you represent a certain sense of victimhood, we are here with the breaking news. You, with your violence, are not the victim. You, with your hate, are not the underdog. Dear alt-right, dear alt-right. Today is Kimberly Jessica's birthday. She was killed in the same classroom as Sabika, my cousin. Today, Kimberly would have turned 15. On December 1 this year, Sabika would have turned 18. There are so many names, so many lives which would have lived. So many clothes still hanging there, which will always hang there. So many journeys never taken. Sabika's return journey to Pakistan was only 19 days away when it happened. She will never return home. Her younger brother, who will teach him math really? I mean, who will eat all those foods Sabika's mother cooked right before Eid? She was to celebrate Eid back home. Her 9 months in Santa Fe, Texas were full of love. And that's the love we talk about, and that's the love we are here for. Dear All Tried, if you think this is a battle, if you think this is ongoing, it's not. We've won. This is victory right here. This is your defeat right here. And you're all right. You have taken lives away from us, but we are gathered here as witness to the fact that we will not shut up. We will not be disappeared. We will not go into hiding. We will not be forgotten. Our names will remain. Yours will not. They're all tried. They're all tried. This isn't policy debate. I mean, if you think that yours is a perspective, that yours is a free speech, that yours is some semblance of legitimacy which should be afforded to you, it's not. Hate is not an option. Hate is not a policy option on the table. Hate is not a perspective which should be entertained. Hate is hate. Hate is reductive. Hate kills. And this right here, this photo right here is witness of the fact that hate and its trauma remains for the lifetime, but to end it, they're all tried. We are sad, of course, but we will celebrate the lives taken by hate. We will celebrate those lives which you have killed by your hate, by your reductiveness, by your division, and by your radical agenda, which is not so radical, by the way. You're all tried? I depart from the stage, but I depart taking in my eyes this very scene right here, which will remain when I go back to Pakistan, my country. And Sabika right here is looking at it right now. This is our victory. They're all right. This right here is your defeat. Thank you.
Let's give it up. Who here thinks that people who this country has bombed in the Middle East and Central Asia have every bit as much right to live in this country or anywhere in Europe as anyone with pale skin? Who here thinks anyone from South America or Central America has as much right to come here, in fact has more right to come here than we have to occupy historically indigenous land? So I'm going to bring up a sister now from Black Lives Matter DC. Black Lives Matter is making the connection between this alt-right, far-right, neo-Nazi violence and the state-sanctioned violence that occurs on a daily basis facing black folks, black working class and poor folks in marginalized communities or in gentrifying communities. So let's welcome Makia from Black Lives Matter DC.
And so if you're looking for Black Lives Matter today, that's exactly where we're going to be. We're going to be counter-protesting at 2 p.m. within this intersection of 16th and High because we want to stand in solidarity and make sure that we attack white supremacy on all sides today. Black Lives Matter is working to exemplify the world we want to live in. A world where there's no white supremacy, where black people are liberated and all people are free. We were devastated to see the uprising of violence and hate rhetoric caused by white supremacists and white nationalists. We were so disappointed that after last year, after the violence white nationalists incited and the resulting death of Heather Heyer at the last Unite the Right, that the National Park Service would then say, let's bring it to D.C. Exactly. We're telling the National Park Service to don't permit racism. Right? D.C. is not a political playground for white supremacist views and ideals. Real people live here. We are here to confront the white supremacy and will not ignore the hate they incite. White nationalists intend to induce fear and to terrorize us. And we know that historically, ignoring white nationalists never works. When I say rise up, you say fight back. Rise up! Fight back. Rise up! Fight back. We're going to create a safe space for people to lift their voices in opposition of white supremacy and the hate rhetoric intended to terrorize our communities. We know our people will be safe because we've educated our people and we are a strong network of organizers. Black Lives Matter DC is here because it's important to be clear that the real people that live in this community are hurt by these actions. That there are real people who are dying at the hands of white supremacy in DC and across the world today. We are not just here to block white supremacy. We're also here to promote Black liberation, right? Today we can block white supremacy, but we're going to continue to build these relationships. And I know that everyone here is going to be supporting all of the dope Black organizers that have been coming up on this stage to make sure that they can win their goals for their city, right? Exactly. So for the Black folks in the room, I want to tell you that I love you. And that it is amazing that you took the bravery and that you took the risk to even come out here today. And that for me, from Black Lives Matter, one of the things that we're going to be continuing to do after this rally is inspire people to 1, have organized resistance, 2, Black healing, 3, Black joy, all that we could have Black liberation. When I say rise up, you say fight back. Rise up. Fight back. Rise up. Fight back. Rise up. Fight back. Rise up. Fight back. Thank you, y'all.
So, can I hear it again for Black Lives Matter, DC? In the spirit of the way my sister concluded, I want to lead a chant for the Black folks in the audience, which she knows, I know, a lot of us know, but it's a little bit sing-songy.
Yeah.
I love being Black.
I said I love being Black.
I said I love being Black.
I said I love being Black.
I love the color of my skin. Cause it's the skin that I'm in. I love the texture of my hair. And I rock it everywhere. I said I love being Black. I said I love being Black. I love the color of my skin.
I love the color of my skin.
I love the skin that I'm in.
It's the skin that I'm in.
Now repeat after us. Black lives, they matter here.
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 Black trans, 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 they matter here.
Black women matter here.
Black women matter here.
Black women matter here.
Black women matter here.
Black youth, they 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 matter here.
Give it up for Black Lives Matter. And if you have financial capital, give it to dope Black organizers.
Yes. And I just want to say to all the Black folks that love that song about how much I love being Black, make sure that you know that that was written by Janae Taylor of the Black Youth Project 100, right? We gotta uplift Black women, right? Pay us our worth, right? Thank y'all so much.
Pause. ourselves together.
I don't know what he's talking about. I'm always together.
I'm sorry.
What are you saying? What are you saying?
I was the one who
Protesting and
wasn't together.
slaying are not mutually exclusive. I know you see these shorts. I know. And this shirt is available. The Youth of the Future Foundation designed and made this shirt. You can have one.
And if you
Go to
notice,
www.thefuturedc.org and click on Stay Woke DC. Yes.
and we're kind of color coordinated.
I'm just saying.
Black, red, and white, theming, like emblematic colors for the anti-fascist movement. Thought it would be appropriate. Okay, I'll stop.
But right now, I think it's more than time to acknowledge the awesome sounds we've been getting from DJ Chuekex. Okay? And how about another set? And if you got some go-go, I'm not against making a special request. All right. Also, while she's playing, just so you know, we do have more speakers they're going to set up for you. You'll be seeing Son La Lucha they're setting up. And then I'll give them a formal introduction, you know.
Thank you, people.
Would you believe that I also own a ukulele and then I sprained both my damn hands like a week later? But I'm gonna come back next year when we do this again with my ukulele and we gonna crank as we say on my side of town.
Yeah!
I'm gonna come through southeast, southeast, La Bamba, northeast, northeast, La Bamba, northwest, northwest, La Bamba. Let me stop. But I was feeling, and I know that you. Oh, they said don't leave up northwest. Y'all make me mad every time I go up there. The whole time I went to Howard, wasn't a working metro. Then the gentrifiers come, now the metro look like the Trump Towers. I just want to understand. I'm just saying. I just also, while we on all things DC, I would like to note that Messi Mario is in El Salvador. So the next time that your mayor says she stands with you, oh, she came back? Oh, okay. She's still Messi Mario though. Text her, tell her I said it. Thank you. Don't forget on election day. Anywho, I'm very excited.
Say one quick thing. We need to know who is responsible when these Gestapo police go after folks taking direct action today, because after J20, friends of mine had their house raided by the police, confiscating computers, phones, trying to persecute legitimate activism and organizing. More than 200 people were facing up to 80 years in prison. And guess what? The only person doing any jail time is someone who was intimidated into a plea deal. Everyone else's cases were dismissed or the charges were dropped, which means that the MPD should be on the defensive and they should not be restricting our right to free speech, which includes the right to take the streets, includes the right to civil disobedience. And we are saying to the far right that the only wall we're going to let you build in this country is a wall keeping your hate out and expelling it to the netherworld where it belongs.
And we gotta be clear, right? Sometimes walls aren't built. Sometimes walls look like rent you can't afford, or jobs that won't pay you a living wage, or hoods that don't have working lights. How about that? Right? Or the only job you can get is to sell drugs, or to sell guns that the government gave you. How about that? Let's be clear about what this looks like on a regular basis. Some of us are a brunch away from eviction. Don't forget about it. But Jenny Relic was born with a mobility impairment. The passage of the American with Disability Acts of 1990 inspired Jenny, then a college student, to become a disability rights activist and civil rights attorney. In law school at UNC, she was active in the National Lawyers Guild and co-founded the Workers' Rights Project. As a licensed attorney, she looked great on paper and got a lot of job interviews, but she never got a job offer. She went for another graduate degree and finally got a job as an analyst for a federal agency. Jenny's disability grew much worse in 2009. She completely lost her voice and had to retire, but now she's free to say whatever she pleases. Joining her as an assistant, please can we welcome to the stage Miss Jenny Relic. Thank you.
Before I start, I want to give a shout out to International Alliance of Theatrical and Stage Employees, Local 22. They found out on Thursday that I needed an ADA compliant ramp to get on stage, and they built it. Thank you so much. You are a beautiful example of how solidarity is not just about union helping union. It's about inclusion and equality for all people.
Neutral aid, fuck yeah!
I'm not a big deal in the disability rights movement. Last week, I was invited to speak about disability at this rally, and I felt like I had to accept. People with disabilities have limited resources. Would somebody else more prominent in the disability community make it here? Maybe not. When we fight, we have to choose our battles. When called, we can't expect somebody else to do the job. As a disabled person, I'm angry and afraid of the alt-right. They are the tip of the iceberg. Under the surface, 50% of Americans who approve of a president, 50% of Americans who approve of a president who winks and nods at the alt-right. 50%. As a former lawyer, I see that our government of, by, and for the people is perishing from the earth. The alt-right makes good people afraid to assemble peacefully. The police scare me too, because tear gas might kill me. I'm sure the police think I'm crazy to be here. Last year, they thought I was foolish to protest the alt-right at the Lincoln Memorial. If we are going to defeat fascism and protect the people the alt-right hates, we have to be principled, we have to be smart, and we have to take calculated risks. This battle is one we must choose to fight. We must win. The world is watching us. Thank you.
Clumsy. I knew that was eventually going to happen, and it just did. And then I said something about it, so if you don't notice, then I just highlighted it. Nonetheless, that was amazing, right? So inspirational, seriously. So the next person coming to the stage is like, you know how there's Beyonce, and then there's Sasha Fierce, and like there's these alter egos that folks have, like there's Prince, and then he had this period where he was the artist. Okay, so all today you've been talking to David Thurston, right? And David Thurston was your MC, and David Thurston was your host. So together as a unit, we're just gonna go like this. We're gonna raise our hands, all who are willing and able. We're gonna pull down the curtain. We're gonna pull it back up. And coming to the stage is Bipo Phoenix. Yes!
So, I'm in deep cover. You know, if the fascists want to get me, they're gonna have to work really, really hard. This is not serious. But I wanted to read this poem after Jenny because what I wanted to articulate is that there are some disabilities that are really visible, and you can see that someone is walking with a cane or has a hearing aid or is in a wheelchair, and some disabilities aren't as visible, but they're no less important. And the reason I chose my name, my street art name and my poetic name, Bipo Phoenix, is that I live on the manic depressive spectrum. It can get scary and I can get psychotically manic or psychotically depressed once I manage to jump off Key Bridge and survive, which is wild. And I'm really glad that I'm alive. So I had this poem that I wrote. And I think that like all forms of stigma, except for the stigmatization of like fascism, are pretty really bad and toxic. So like, I know lots of people in this city who have felt suicidal or have attempted suicide since this crazy election, and we have to support each other in each and every way possible. Our mental health is not some optional extra for yuppies who can afford therapists. It needs to be a universal right for everyone in our society. So I'm accompanied on drums by the lovely Joshua Carroll, and the poem I'm reading is called Psychotropic Warfare, a mixtape for the mental health revolution. Moods are tortured, crazy beasts, wild, untamed, so fiercely free, churning worlds, achieving feats, but enslaved by tides of neurochemistry. Manic flights, depressive pain, anxiety holds expression in chains, narcissistic obsession, emotional borderline, personality stigmas inscribed in texts and on minds. Voices of trauma echo deep inside, visions and feelings intrude from beyond, claiming our present, controlling our lives, reviving old demons and suppressing new songs. Behind every addiction lurks a deeper disease, a pain that you're praying that drink will ease, a puff, a long deep drag to ease anxiety out, a potent pill to find sleep, a little bump to arouse. Break the silence, expose the lies, our system is sick, yet it's mortals who die. Suicide claims tens of thousands each year, guilt, pain, and shame, or it's toxic debris. No shame, no guilt, no silence, no rage. Your own psychic break could be moments away. In each and every family lies a hidden story of illness untreated, of personality recoiled. Laugh to heal, learn to let yourself cry, find joy in karmic company. Arise, butterflies. Neurons heal, toxic tired patterns rearrange, psychological synergies evolve, grow, and change. Hope and faith are lamps of light on the way. Friends can love, transform families can hold. Speak Malcolm's truth to power. Let Nina's tears heal pain. Let Baldwin's passion create. Let Octavia's synergy grow bold. Decayed capitalism is a fierce, monstrous beast, frantically destroying a planet. Its demons never sleep. Imperial terror and cyber drones herald Orwellian peace. Muslims are branded, inhumane prison cells infected with mortal grief. Instead of order, we have chaos, anarchy, bourgeois style. Instead of care, we have prisons. The war on drugs is a lie. Peddling the latest pricey pills for profit, yet denying so many relief, leaving shame and guilt, turmoil and rage to seethe and writhe beneath. Examine your pain, seek treatment and love. Give in to your parents, your lovers, your friends. In time, trust rebuilds its magic, subterranean power. Cathartic tears and heavenly rain sustain creativity's cosmic flower. Resist the chains of bondage, enslaving our brains. Fight for freedom, baby dolls, armed with love, fueled by rage. Name systemic roots for systemic pain, blame, and shame. Slay the beast, rising angels. Rise from fire, rise from pain. Let ancestors speak, let ancient lives recombine. Butterflies grow from maggots. Sacred truth conquers lies. Sing songs of emancipation while Diva Dance claims the stage. Let's destroy and rebuild. Reimagine this ugly, beautiful, tortured age. Psychotropic warfare, baby. Two sides, two roads. There's a road to liberation or a short trip to hell. Class war, baby dolls, unfolding inside your mind. Like a prayer, we are heard. Live to love, live to tell. So I was just informed that Nazis are on the trains, escorted by our police, going to Foggy Bottom. So people should know that this mobilization has been united around a diversity of tactics. So there are folks here, folks in Lafayette holding space, just permitted and safe, and there are folks taking greater risk, taking to the street to try to prevent the Nazis from claiming space and getting to Lafayette. And we stand in solidarity with all of our brothers and sisters and comrades who are fighting. We refuse to allow the state or the mass media to make us the protest police, deciding who are the good protesters, who are the bad protesters. I was asked thousands of times after J20, well, didn't they break a window? I'm like, that window was insured. It was replaced within 2 days. What happened to the homeless man I met who was put in jail over the weekend who didn't get his medication? Why is one thing violence and another just the way the system works? So we reject the non-violence, violence paradigm. We reject the protest police paradigm. We are fighting for a different kind of world, and we are fighting to prefigure the way that kind of world can look by how we organize, build relationships, trust, and strengthen community power here and moving forward. So without further ado, I want to introduce Nachshon Davis, he, him pronouns. Nachshon is a Black, queer, Jewish organizer and trainer. Thank you.
I'm always reminded how short you are when somebody moves their microphone. Living my like T.I., my Rihanna energies right now. Can you hear me now? Hello. So I'm gonna practice being more precise with my words. So I'm hoping to keep this kind of short because it's hot. So next time we should do this in like November or December. My life is unsafe. My life was unsafe yesterday. It was unsafe a year ago. It was unsafe 5 years ago. It was unsafe 10 years ago. And it was unsafe the year that I was born. And it was unsafe for those who came before me way before that. Because the reality is, that's what America is. For some of us, it's the conditions of our lack of safety as much as it is the soil that we're born in. It's also the conditions that will absolutely murder the fuck out of us. And so I've been really thinking a lot about why that is. And I think there's something about this like lustful idolatry we have as a country with whiteness and with wealth. And the unfortunate reality is lots of us are stuck in that too. And so there's these questions I've been sitting kind of where I sit. The question of, what do we collectively say to me as a Jew? When I wake up and ancestors are shouting daily that America is readying herself and I'm on that list. What do we say to me as a Black person? When I wake up daily and ancestors are telling me that America is returning herself to hold me back in bondage. Or what does America say to me as a trans person? That this is still so new to walk around and be able to say that publicly. To walk around here and not fear that when I walk off this stage, that that's the shit that's gonna get me killed. When I just say America, we haven't had enough time. And what I'm learning more and more is that I can't go alone because there's so few of me. I don't know how many of y'all know queer, trans, Black, Jewish folks. I know a few of us, but there's so few of us. So my safety can't be built on any one piece of pillar of myself. And so what I need, that I want to share with you all, is for us to start breaking our love affair with whiteness, and our love affair with wealth, and our love affair of value of property over people. And recognize that we can't keep living when our bodies are most apprised when we profit somebody else. Because I'm reading that by the middle of the century, Black wealth is going to be zero. And that's not a way to live no more. So the words of Kwame Nkrumah, forward ever, backward never. Thank you.
Test. So just so people know, it's important when you take greater risks to really trust the people you're working with and to make sure you establish game plans, but some of the folks taking greater risk to blockade could potentially use some support from people who maybe aren't going to risk arrest but might want to chant while police do arrest or shame them for acting as the stormtroopers of this proto-fascist regime. So if you're interested in that, find people you trust, think about what to do to take action, because, I mean, no march achieves its goals in one day. People are like, oh wow, that was a great idea. Power listens. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, it never will. And what we do at these marches, at these rallies, listening to people who say things, well, it's great, but the most important thing is who you meet here and what you continue to do to organize, where you throw your time, energy, and money and resources moving forward. Because nothing, what we're building does not start and end here. We are building on the legacy of movements of the past, the struggles around J20 and the inauguration. So let me just, without further ado, introduce our next speaker. His name is Aiyi'nah al-Karabi. He uses he, him pronouns. Aiyi'nah is a pansexual Palestinian, Syrian American. He's a community organizer for Get Equal. He was active during the Occupy movements and co-founded the Queer Palestinian Empowerment Network, a community organization dedicated to cultivating and empowering LGBTQ Palestinians in movement, healing, and leadership. And also moving forward, we're running a little behind schedule, so I just want to ask all my speakers, if you can, try to keep it to 5 minutes so we can get into the streets where we're needed to confront fascism and drive it back into the holes where it belongs.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello and good morning and good afternoon to folks who are the beams of light in this realm of darkness. Before I begin, let's get on the same page here. There are alt-right and agitprop victors that might like to incite violence and blame us for starting it. Emphasis on starting it. I want to begin with the public recognition of the fact that many law enforcement officers, both in uniform and in plain clothes, let's give them up in plain clothes for starting stuff, are gathered with us today, and the fact they are sworn to keep the peace. We come in peace to raise our voices in advocating for peace, liberty, and dignity of all people. We are gathered here today to stand firm and stand tall. And to say khalas to this hate, and this hate that is killing us. From Gaza to Palestine, to right here, in Turtle Island. On this dark weekend, during these tough times, I stand before you, hoping to be the beacon of courage. We need to persist another day. However, things are tough, you see. Since the start of the Great Return March in Gaza, we have close to 30,000 of our sisters and brothers who are doing the same thing you are doing today, getting mowed down and killed. 30,000 of us are being injured for doing the same thing you all are doing today. We are deeply suffering. In the last 48 hours, our cultural center was being uprooted. The Israeli government has uprooted the Palestinian culture, literally destroying the Cultural Museum in Gaza. So these folks from alt-right pontificate and wish to adopt the Israeli model of an apartheid state. This is why we are speaking, because Israel, they look up to Israel. Richard Spencer wants America to become Israel. Jason Kessler wants to do this, what they're doing to Palestinians, to every single one of you today. And they call themselves a democracy. But it's nothing sort of a genocidal, settler, colonial state like here in Turtle Island, just like home. And I stand before you as the founder of QPIN, the Queer Palestinian Empowerment Network. As an organization, we strive to amplify and acknowledge the Palestinian LGBTQ community. That is Palestinians within and beyond Palestine, who identify as queer, trans, Palestinian, lesbian, bisexual, gay, and any identity outside of heteronormativity. We celebrate and acknowledge our community both in its value and diversity. We aim to empower the Palestinian queers. Right. So, however, I'm gonna move on. You know about pink fashion. I'm gonna expand on this.
So right now, we don't have full federal equality. We need full federal equality. Who's with me? Now, a couple of things to look out for. Then I'll get into speaking to some certain situations. The Trump regime has developed a concept under ICE to start denaturalizing people. Trump has started to denaturalize American citizens, and their test subjects were Palestinian. Their test subjects were Palestinian organizers. Rasmi Alde in Chicago, and Ahmed Aldi Osman in Ohio. Don't you understand this? They're denaturalizing American citizens are pillars of society just because they're Palestinian. Now say this with me. Say this with me. From Palestine to Mexico, all these walls have got to go.
Palestine to Mexico, all these walls have got to go.
From Palestine to Mexico,
all these walls have got to go.
We're done?
From Palestine to Mexico.
Now, I just want to make something perfectly clear. You see, there is a certain organization that gets away with things they've done to the Arab, Muslim, and Palestinian community, and it's known as the Anti-Defamation League. They have sent police officers from St. Louis over to Israel. They have sent ICE officers, including the deputy director of ICE, over to Israel to kill and murder and maim my people with your textiles. So, two things you can tangibly do is to support the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement in which the alt-right hates. The alt-right does not let Palestinians organize, violent or otherwise. So please tell your representative to support HR 4391. What do you mean no? So at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, Palestinians are oppressed and they are killed by supremacy. Either by white supremacists or other supremacists. You gotta acknowledge that Palestinians are human beings and we're being slaughtered. We're being maimed by an apartheid state. Don't have those blinders on. Just because you're protesting Jason Kessler does not mean that state is not and has not done evil things to my people. Now I'll do some singing. No?
Let's raise a voice in support of solidarity among all oppressed communities across our world. We're here to stand up against anti-Semitism, against racism, against white supremacy, against the expropriation of Palestinian lands. We want to fight for a world that respects all, built on solidarity, mutual aid, and trust. And with the previous remarks, led a bunch of people to come to me with frustration, feelings, anxiety. If you're not feeling tension, you're probably not in the right space because it takes work and challenges working through differences to build movements. So,
and we gotta be willing to talk to people, not at people. How about that? No matter what we're saying. So what we're gonna do is, I understand that there's a lot of emotions and stuff in the space, but I wanna be very clear that this wasn't for us to turn on each other. This wasn't for us to turn on each other. We are all navigating this space right now for one purpose and one reason. We're in one race right now. And if we lose focus and we turn this way, we're not gonna win this race. And so what I wanna do right now, because it seems to be a lot of energy and a lot of attitude, I wanna ask my empaths in the space, my healers in the space, those who work on supernatural energy. This is a lot, right? Y'all okay? Y'all okay? My muggles in the space. That's what I call everybody else. My muggles. Y'all alright? Y'all okay? Alright? Because at the end of the day, you either a witch, wizard, or a muggle. That's it. Pick one. Put your dress robes on. It's time. Voldemort is here. What the fuck wrong with y'all? I'm sorry, C-SPAN. You're going to have to bleep that out.
I'm going to date myself by saying we really are living in the Matrix.
Right. Eugene.
Where the hell is Neo?
So now that we done checked on our empaths, our brujas, our brujos, our witches, our wizards, I just want to take one more time. I want to check on our youth. Right?
the truth.
I can hear you, the youth are the truth. The youth are the truth. The youth are the truth. The youth are the truth.
Say it louder.
The youth are the truth.
Say what?
The youth are the truth.
DC?
Yeah.
Means don't come.
The little 5-year-old girl that's at home that wants to be here with you right now. The 8-year-old who doesn't agree with the conversation that's happening at the kitchen table right now. To form them to be the next supremacists. That's what this focus is about. Your politics have already been shaped. But there's hope on the television screen looking at us right now. And so we're going to continue to allow the folks who've been appointed to hold this space. And I'm going to give one more public service announcement. This is not for your political platform. This is not for your personal resume. This is not for your hood, your hometown, your affiliation, your membership, or your organization. At the end of the day, if everybody around here ain't free, it's still an effing problem. Okay? This is not what this is for. We're going to have a real moment because I've seen so many people who couldn't tell you how to get from two sides to DC claiming to be protecting DC. I can count how many people from DC have been on the cameras talking about DC. So if we want to talk about knowing our place, none of us do. And this is not the time to figure that out. Throw another conference, pay some people's way, get rid of the $250 registration fee, and then we can talk about those issues. But we're going to finish this program, and then we're going to deal with these motherfuckers up the street. Do not be distracted. Because this is the same shit that happens when they like to tell you there's black on black crime. There is no such thing as black on black crime. There are the effects of white supremacy on black people in their black neighborhoods. Let's be very fucking clear. I went to Howard University, okay? I'm very well educated. But these ignorant motherfuckers who are trying to kill me don't speak but one language. So today, I'm talking to them. If you want to think peace, or a tweet, holler at me later. But right now, we have business to tend to. You have 3 minutes to speak, because we have business. We can talk later. The walk is waiting for us. So next up, we have Franz. Franz is the founding director of the Sephardic Heritage in DC, a cultural diplomacy organization that builds intercultural bridges and promotes appreciation and understandings of the cultures, arts, and history of the Middle East, North Africa, the Iberian Peninsula, and Central and Western Asia. Franz has also published on topics of international and Jewish affairs and offers consulting to those seeking to learn more about Sephardic heritage. Much love and respect for you, Franz. Thank you, brother.
Jewish with roots in the Middle East and North Africa, and to be honest, with a different perspective on Israel from some of those who have spoken before me, but I'm here for the same reason you are. Inspired by my own underrepresented heritages and identities, I'm here with you to speak truth to power as white nationalists and their allies also gather today on the anniversary of last year's Unite the Right rally. They are marching here today because their ancestors came to this land as immigrants, or because they are immigrants. They are here today because of the First Amendment right of all Americans to speak freely and assemble peaceably regardless of the message. They are also gathering here today because of this nation's promise of liberty for all. Indeed, that liberty can be for a blessing or for a curse. I'm here to recall the American vision of liberty, a pure flame that inspired the founding fathers and the underrepresented to forge this great nation to be a blessing. It begins with speaking truth to power. On a hot, muggy afternoon on August 17th, 1790, George Washington arrived in Rhode Island by ship. 3 months after the legislature there voted 34 to 32 to ratify the Constitution, becoming the last state in the Union to do so. because there were long debates over the issue of religious freedom in this new nation. Many of Newport's Jewish population were Hispanic Jews who had come to America to escape centuries of persecution after having been forced to leave Spain in 1492 and 4 years later expelled from Portugal. At the time of Washington's visit to Newport, the states were debating the Bill of Rights with the First Amendment provision that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. In fact, one of the reasons for President Washington's visit was to gain support for the adoption of the Bill of Rights. Without those provisions, religious minorities questioned whether they would be allowed to practice their religion. Even tolerant Rhode Island's promise of free religious practice did not guarantee other civil rights for religious minorities. While Jews were free to worship, do business, and travel, we did not benefit from the political rights that came with citizenship, such as holding public office or voting like our white Anglo-Saxon Protestant neighbors. So a Sephardic Jew, Rabbi Gershom Mendes Seixas, decided to speak truth to power. He wrote a letter to George Washington that said, "Deprived as we are hereto, therefore have been of the invaluable rights of free citizens, we now with a deep sense of gratitude to the Almighty Disposer of all events, behold a government erected by the majesty of the people, a government which to bigotry gives no sanction, to persecution no assistance, but generally affording to all liberty of conscience and immunities of citizenship, deeming everyone of whatever nation, tongue, or language equal parts of the great governmental machine." Implicitly, the letter invited President Washington to affirm that the new government would not give sanction to bigotry, nor assist persecution. Indeed, this country was blessed because the voice of power echoed the voice of truth. On August 21st, 1790, George Washington wrote in response to Rabbi Seixas, "The citizens of the United States of America have a right to applaud themselves for having given to mankind examples of an enlarged and liberal policy, a policy worthy of imitation. All possess alike liberty of conscience and immunities of citizenship. It is now no more that mere toleration is spoken of as if it was by the indulgence of one class of people that another enjoyed the exercise of their inherent natural rights. For happily, the government of the United States, which gives to bigotry no sanction, to persecution no assistance, requires only that we live under its protection, that those who live under its protection should demean themselves as good citizens in giving it on all occasions their effectual support." In 1790, during this exchange between President Washington and Rabbi Seixas, the addition of the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, was being debated. Because of Americans like Rabbi Seixas who spoke out against bigotry and persecution, it was adopted on December 15th, 1791. Fellow Americans, I am here today in the spirit of Rabbi Seixas and others who have spoken truth to power, to remind America of its true potential for greatness by recalling the words of President George Washington, which echo the voice of Rabbi Seixas. To bigotry, no sanction. To persecution, no assistance. Say it with me. To bigotry, no sanction. To persecution, no assistance. To bigotry, no sanction. To persecution, no assistance. In the Torah portion for this week in Shofetim, or Judges, there is great immorality in the land, and the people feel hopeless. What do we do without the voice of God and the great fire that we experience on Sinai? The Torah responds with a promise that God will send prophets. A prophet is someone who speaks truth to power. This is our flame.
Yeah.
I'm here with you to remind America that there's a great fire that still burns on Liberty Island. A pure flame of liberty, the same liberty that Rabbi Seixas spoke into being, to bigotry, no sanction, to persecution, no assistance. That flame will not die because we will not be silenced. Sephardic woman Emma Lazarus, the great-great-niece of Rabbi Seixas, advocated for immigrants. Lazarus had spent her life writing about anti-Semitism and ethnic prejudice, and the 1880s became a fierce advocate for Jewish refugees fleeing massacre in Russia. For this reason, she strongly supported a homeland for the Jewish people. Her words are enshrined on the Statue of Liberty as follows: "Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land, here at our sea-washed sunset gate shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air bridge harbor that twin cities frame. Keep ancient lands your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shore, send these the homeless tempest tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. It would be Emma Lazarus's words that decades later would come to define the American vision of liberty. Not by powerful brazen giants and conquering limbs, but a mighty woman with a torch. Fellow Americans, we lift our lamp without fear today. A pure flame, the American vision of liberty. Ironically, white nationalists are marching here today because their ancestors came to this land as immigrants, or because they are immigrants. They are here today because of the First Amendment right of all Americans to speak freely and assemble peaceably, regardless of the message. Ironically, they're here because of Americans like Rabbi Seixas, who spoke truth to power, and in so doing helped President Washington to ratify the First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of association, freedom of the press, and freedom of religion. They take, but do not give. They threaten the very foundations of the liberties that they exercise without shame. Ironically, they light the torches of hate from liberty's flame while seeking to distort the American vision. But we still speak truth to power. There's one flame to rule them all. It is not the flame of any racist power, but the flame of truth. The flame of a mighty woman with a torch. You too, white nationalists, were an exile that came to this land. In the Torah portion that we read in the synagogue yesterday, Moses said, "See, I place before you a blessing and a curse." Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, who served as the chief rabbi of the United Hebrew Congregations of the British Commonwealth, once said that throughout Deuteronomy, Moses keeps saying, "Don't think your future will be determined by forces outside your control. You are indeed surrounded by forces outside your control, but what matters is how you choose." Everything else will follow from that. Choose the good, and good things will happen to you. Bad choices create bad people who create bad societies, and in such societies, in the fullness of time, liberty is lost. What choices are we making with our liberty today? As individuals, as a nation, we urge our fellow Americans out of love to put out this strange fire of hate because it is not in the service of this country. It does not make America great. It never has. It never will. There is another Sephardic American woman named Maud Nathan, who is an outspoken critic of anti-Semitism and racial prejudice. I'll let you look her up. I'll conclude. Maud Nathan saw herself as a victim of discrimination, both as a woman and as a Jew. Still, she took pride in the fact that she had been able to make her protest count. Because she persisted. She devoted her life to advocating the American ideals of freedom, liberty, mutual respect, and social justice. Maud Nathan also chose liberty's flame. Today we gather because we too as Americans choose the blessing of liberty's pure flame, not the curse. We speak this truth to power. Theodore Parker said that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And I believe that ultimately there is one flame to rule them all, liberty's pure flame, echoing Maud Nathan's words. I'm not here to antagonize or humiliate, but I make a choice to stretch out my hand to every American in the spirit of love, peace, and cooperation. Let us embrace the true greatness of America, which is not a skin color, but all of you, all of us working together for the good, echoing the voices of America's prophets, and eschewing hate. To bigotry, no sanction. To persecution, no assistance. One more time with me. To bigotry, no sanction. To persecution, no assistance. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's give it up again. So a few quick notes. I want people in the back to hear me. So can we do a quick thing? Mic check. Mic check. Okay, this rally is not over yet. So folks trying to lead people to march on their own are risking folks' security, given that there was no plan to do that, and really shouldn't be attempting to be the vanguard of nothing in the middle of this space that is about solidarity. Please, if you can hear me, stay here. We will all march together. There's safety in numbers, there's safety in planning, solidarity, and non-hierarchical decision-making processes. So there is water in the back. There are a limited number of porta potties in the back. There also are businesses which have restrooms, and you can pretend to be a customer and use their restroom. So I'm gonna let people know, also there are vegan burritos in the middle of the plaza on the south side. So it's always safe to cook vegan because nobody doesn't eat vegan. You know, like no one can constitutionally not eat vegan. So try the vegan burritos. They're probably delicious. And I am going to welcome to the stage a poet who we're including at the last moment, but his name is Ralph Watkins. He's a DC native, and he is a poet. He's a spoken word artist, so give him your attention, please. Thank you.
How you all doing? How y'all doing? Keep one thing in mind, this is not my platform, but your platform. It's not my platform, but it's your platform. Before I came up here, I was standing out there. So I am you. Each and every one of us are different. Each in a paradox of our own. We are scary human beings filled with flesh and viable to the bone. Once the umbilical cord has been cut, amnesty shall not be granted. Understanding life and people is not a one-day course. It is a punishable dream. I like the feel of a rock. It's concrete, it's real, and it does not scrutinize with your intelligence. An approach to something without sense animates the mind and renders it to both good and evil. A breath of air gives much certainty that a person acts independently of all others, and no one else is responsible past a child's fruitful upbringing. We all need guidance to help us recognize the boundaries that separate us from one another. The posture of a person is inevitable direction towards prosperity or poverty. It does not profit a man to mill around in groups any longer, or to be led by the hand submissively or maimed. Fools do exhausting work, and they seldom inhale one breath of wisdom for compensation. We know what we're made of. We know our limits. Some things are uncontrollable, and it's that we have to compensate. And I shall gather no flower for my own funeral. I wish us and you together the best as we move forward. Not my platform, but your platform.
Thank you, bro. You did that. He got my email about the camouflage pants. I was like, please, somebody put on some camouflage pants so they know me mean war, okay? This is a lot without any tequila. I'm of age. I'm just, yes, God, there's a lot. We have someone else to speak to you. Malik Naeem is a spoken word artist from the DMV. For those of you who aren't from here, that means somewhere in the District of Columbia, Maryland, or Virginia. That whole region, he's from somewhere around there, who has won awards from Muslim Interscholastic Tournament, The X Factor, and America's Got Talent. Come on, Malik, give them what they need. He took a sip of water. He about to slay you. He took a sip of water.
How's everyone feeling? That's good. It's always important to stand up for what's right. So I'm gonna do 3 poems. This first poem is untitled because I wrote it last night. Now, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist nor a line for sympathy. It just feels like colored kids receive their American dream with no warranty. They play our minds by manipulating currency, and currently, I'm starting to see far beyond the illusion we all conform to called society. They use our celebrities as weapons to distract us from their secrecy, to the point where even some of our own brothers and sisters misunderstand why we don't share the same American dream. What is a dream when your people are still under siege? Melanin extortion, cultural appropriation, there really are no boundaries. You see, this system that's killing our children, they decided to call it indifference. Flint hasn't had water for years, and they decided to make it a casual condition. They'll let terror walk the streets of DC because this country holds to a tradition. It feels as if the countries of the world are killing more and talking less of some type of competition. Like, how many young blacks have to die martyrs by the police and didn't even know what they were dying for? And they've even conditioned us to accept these obvious attacks on our people. They gave us Twitter as an outlet to speak about our problems, but they never dare give us a solution to these problems. Dead bodies become hashtags because the news only talks about trending topics, so we have to trend dead bodies and watch their lives be criticized like a flashback. And they swear we're tripping. They tell us we think too negative. I say they act too segregated. And this nation that I love so much has let me down. From keeping the Mexicans out to taking all the black kids' crowns, but nowadays, I can't only blame America, because as I blame America, I must also blame myself. Because even we at times become the silence that no one needs. We all share a fear of realizing that we never had an American dream. And for those who are privileged enough to not relate, allow me to explain. To every soul that neglects others' pain as memories of injustice fades from your brain, intoxicated with the newest fad or slang, we are too obsessed with the world. And death is our Armani exchange, so express that in H&M your clothes, Gucci your soul, and Jordan exposed. Your desire for Ugg boots and phones, I see no bloodstains on your foes. Now, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I'm worried about the unborn more than the adorned. I'm scared to watch children grow up in scorn and watch hate and jealousy be reborn. It's just, when will we have enough? When will the loss become too great? The other day I wrote a letter to Lady Liberty to ask her, when will the flames start lighting the way? And she said something that broke me down. She said, oh Malik, my flames have never been on. And she asked me, when will that change? This next poem is a little less political. It's kind of about love, about just getting through things. Love, yeah. All right. It's called Are You Tired? Are you tired of the lucid dreams filled with human schemes, or the elusive promises by the anonymous that leaves people like us feeling like useless means? Are you tired? Tired of being called beautiful but being mishandled, gave your heart as a treasure and it ended up being trampled? How could someone take an angel's heart and just have it sampled, every prayer canceled, all the time put in dismantled? But if no one has ever told you this, let me be the first to. That heartbreak often makes us feel less defined, but you're a queen that never needed to refine her kingdom. Those who never could accept you were never worthy of your dominion. The most beautiful of us are often forced to be the victim. The best of us lose breath because giving your oxygen to others when they gave you space leaves you in a state of suffocation. Are you tired? Tired of conversations that always end at a goodbye. Tired of paying the stars just for the moon to show up in the sky. Tired of seeing forevers and people who only wasted your time. Tired of loving more and blaming yourself for it. I've never seen you cry, but if you did, it'd break me to watch an angel cry, because without your happiness, even the heavens up above would die. See, I've been through my share of rainy parades, mirage charades, false aces that had me fall short in spades. I grew accustomed to the tiredness that I know you feel as well. A generation that lacks sustainability feels more like an emotional jail. We gave past loves the key to freedom, and they abandoned us and left us in their cell. They should have appreciated the gems in this world, the pearls in your eyes, the diamonds in your mindset, the sapphire in your mindset, sapphire in your serenity, the emeralds in your values. See, most men can't see or know how to feel the unseen or dream the impossible dream, and that is why heartbreak is common for you and me. But presently, we must be present in our present to explore a better scene. There's just so much more to life than being unappreciated by those who consume our permanent love with temporary states. Love isn't some stage you perform on. It isn't a maze we send people through. It's meant to be timeless, not time restricted. And that leaves us living in this world conflicted because we are always fighting the conflict of having unselfish hearts. So allow this poem to be an embellished art as a testimony to how I think of you, how you should think of yourself. So never reject your blessings, combat your lessons, appreciate your seconds, live by your message, because every miracle has an essence and you are the essence. You see, there's more to life. Like music vibes during late night drives, midnight caravans on rusty old bikes, Alaska's sun bathing you in holy lights, hooker with good company where the memories feel right, exploring the corridors of France and moving through Dubai, London adventures to find Harry Potter a couple of times, deep sea diving into the coral reefs to change your life. You just seem like you carry such a beautiful vibe. Like we could rescue elephants in Thailand, or maybe dog sled through Alaska's icelands, jump boat cruising along the Halong Bay, or exploring the ruins and terrain of Pompeii. Hiking Machu Picchu, see the sky's the limit, hot air balloon rides over Cappadocia, so vivid in your frame. Well, God created you in a gorgeous image, fine like a ticket, no need for critics, one of a kind so no one can ever mimic. Are you tired? Because I won't let you be tired anymore. No need for restless realities, no need to conform to other fallacies, no need. Because you won't be tired anymore, you see. Before I wrote this poem and drifted deep into sleep, you came to mind as the most beloved of lucid dreams. Thank you.
Show some DC love. Okay, I've been sending text messages, but our last speaker, who should know who he is, isn't up here yet. So I'm gonna stall and tell you the plan, while hopefully Kareem makes his way to the stage. Oh, he's here, good, awesome. So listen, after the march, we're gonna leave from the west side, which is that. That's west, that's east. I hate when people say go up the block or down the block. Like, what does that even mean? Like, cardinal directions are helpful. So west. There's going to be a lead banner, which is the Unite Against Hate banner, and we're asking Charlottesville survivors to stand together and do that. It would also be helpful if people didn't chant while we're trying to explain the directions. Okay. So if folks could wait for the lead group to set out, that would be great. And we're asking marshals to assemble by the medic tents, which are the white tents in the back. And then people should follow the lead of the marshals. So just pause really quickly. All right, so before Cree speaks, I want to acknowledge a lot of organizations, individuals, and networks of organizers have put their weight together into making this rally happen, the rally in Lafayette happen, all the direct action happening. So I want to thank everyone. I'm not going to shout out anyone in particular because then I would be neglecting someone I didn't shout out, but there are a lot of organizations. You know who you are. All too often our work goes unrecognized. So we've built up something important here, and I'm glad that I see so much love in the room. Or the plaza. This is not a room. Yeah. Okay, so welcome Kari. He is a long-standing member of the International Socialist Organization. He's an old friend of mine, and he was part of organizing the mass rally against the fascists in Boston, which drew about 10,000 people. So give Kari your attention, 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll be rolling up and marching out. All right, much love. Bye.
A year ago, when the man in the house down the street, the White House, which like this country was built on stolen land, which like this country was built by stolen people, when he said, after the murderous attack in Charlottesville, that there were good people on both sides, when he said that, he put a target on our backs. He put a target on our backs if we're black, if we're brown, if we're women, if we're queer, if we're people with disabilities, if we're Jewish, if we're Muslim, and if we stand with any of those people. And when I say that, I want to remember our sister, our fallen comrade, Heather Heyer, who courageously marched last year in Charlottesville, not just for herself, but for other people too. And I know there are people here today who are marching not just for ourselves, but for other people too, under attack. Don't let anyone tell you that the way to deal with fascists is to ignore them. We know our history. We have seen where this has gone in Europe with the Nazis. We have seen where this has gone in this country with the Klan. It is not a mystery what will happen if we let these people do what they are doing. Many of us grew up saying, never again. Today we want to show the world what it means to fight for never again. The fascists assembling in Lafayette Square are not just harmless, misguided internet trolls. They are violent and murderous, and they have the support and the inspiration of the President of the United States. He has inspired them not only with what he has said, but with what he has done. Because the fact is that ICE is terrorizing migrant communities in our community. The fact is that the police have been unleashed on black and brown people across this country. And it is also the case that he is warmongering, because if we are telling the truth about the nastiness here that we have to deal with, it means not just talking about what is happening here within the borders of the U.S. or what's happening at the borders, but what the U.S. is doing outside of its borders also. So, fighting white supremacy that they represent will take more than just our protest today. This is bigger than that. Fighting the misogyny and the trans misogyny that they represent will take more than our protest today. I am not only against the far right, I am not only against Donald Trump, I am for a revolution to transform this country. If you are interested in that kind of thing, there is a socialist contingent that I will be part of. Back there, you're welcome to join. All right, so that kind of change is a long-term vision. Right now, we have a big task facing us to let the far right know that when they come to our city, they will lose. I am a proud resident of DC. Thank you. Last year, I was a proud resident of Boston, Massachusetts, and they lost in Boston, and we won. We need to show them that anytime they come to any of our cities, they will lose. Now that means building a resistance, and it means not just being the most radical, though it does take, I believe, radical visions. It means not just being the most militant, though we do need militancy. It means building the broadest possible mass resistance. I believe that the best fighters and thinkers in our resistance have yet to come to their first rally. This here today is incredible. But there are people who are part of our resistance who are not yet here. We need to find them. We need to organize them and build a movement that welcomes them and involves them. This means politics is not just waiting to vote every November. It's about what we're doing right now. And it is about what we will build in the future. So I want to end by saying, let us be the generation that doesn't just protest the far right. Let us be the generation that defeats the far right. That is what we have to do. That is what we can do. And that is what we will do. Solidarity, comrades. See you in the streets.
All right, give it up for Kareem.
I wrote his speech, y'all.
That was amazing.
I wrote that, y'all. And I dressed him. I was responsible for his entire presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, secretly I control his mind.
There we are. It was us again.
So, quickly, most of us are probably gonna want to march over to Lafayette. There's gonna be an organized procession over through there. We went to the length of getting a permit, even though you don't need to get a permit to march in DC streets. Some folks who don't want to go in that direction are going to go to the Trump Hotel, and there's a banner over here, and there's a way to plug in. So if you want to go somewhere where you're still part of the resistance, but you're not as much directly risking hearing someone say something toxic or being arrested or whatever, you might want to go that way. Quickly, Aiyi'nah is going to go over some basic rules in case anyone does run into any kind of state repression, arrest, that type of thing.
So we just want to give you 6 quick things to remember before we escalate or turn down for what? Either one. You're doing one of 2 things after this. And so, first we want you to know your rights, and that is, if you are stopped by the police, ask if you are free to leave. An example would be, am I free to leave? Am I being detained? Am I free to leave? Am I being detained? Second, you have a right to remain silent. You know, the second part of that is anything that is said can be used against you. So what you would like to respond and say, I wish to remain silent. Can you say that? I wish to remain silent. All right. Do not consent to be searched. Do not consent to be searched. The way you do that is say, I do not consent to this search. Can y'all say that?
I do not consent to be searched.
You have a right to know your charges. How do you do that? You go like this. Am I under arrest?
Am I under...
For what crime? Give it to me.
Am I under arrest? For what crime?
Right, it's fucking unbelievable. Can't be. especially in jail. That's actually their whole entire job description. One word, lie. You know how you respond? I wish to remain silent. One more time.
I wish to remain silent.
Now, the police aren't able to do whatever the hell they want, so none of that may not work for you, in which case we are encouraging you to take a pen and write 202-660-1422 somewhere on your body. That number again is 202-660-1422. There's legal support there for you to talk to you should you get arrested, should something occur. We want to thank the National Lawyers Guild for the work that they have done to ensure that folks know their rights and to ensure that this line is up and running. This isn't a new thing. For years, they have stood by while folks have fought oppression and tried not to get locked up for it, or righteously have. And now, David with the send-off.
So let's just raise our fists and think for a moment about the diversity of folks present here, the diversity of views expressed. Let's think about all the folks who are not here, because let's be honest, this plaza doesn't look like what DC used to look like.
Right.
And if we want to build movements that activate people working 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet, or selling crack cocaine to make ends meet,
let's be clear,
we have to pay organizers from those communities to do that kind of work. And that means people with privilege leveraging their privilege to get resources to communities who need to do the work, because we have the organizers. We have people who know from their own experience what the system looks like and what it means to change it. But we need to activate their latent potential to be organizers and put resources in those directions. So there are socialists here, there are anarchists here, there are trans and queer and black liberationists here, there are Latinx fighters for the rights of the undocumented here, there are people who are raging, angry liberals, there are people who want to vote in November, there are people who aren't sure what they're going to vote for. We need everything and everybody. To change everything, we need everyone. I'm glad you're here. This is only the first step of a multi-phase mobilization based on the centrality and importance of a diversity of tactics. So please be safe moving forward. And thank you all for coming out. Thank everyone who performed, thank everyone who put this together. So let's give a big round of applause for all of us. And we'll send off with a chant. No Nazi!